Hello, everybody. This is the Beef and the Deuce podcast. I am the Deuce, always pissing off the Beef, and I just pissed him off big time. He didn't even know it. Beef, I'm not going to ask how you're doing, but how you doing?
Well, it was good, and then it's not.
Then it's not. It was good until it wasn't, right?
The people will understand here very soon.
Okay. We're just going to, we decided to not talk about Nebraska. There's just so much going on with free agency and stuff. So, first thing I heard was, well, let's just go down the list of who's, and see if we can update it and see where we're going, because there's so many guys. Okay, right now we have Aaron Rodgers, nowhere. Justin Fields is to the Jets. Darnold's with Seattle. Pickett is with Cleveland. Daniel Jones to the Colts. Stafford still at the Rams. So we have, and then Gardner Minshew, you mentioned that today, I didn't know that. Gardner Minshew to the Chiefs, that's interesting. Russell Wilson, still no idea, although he's talking to everybody. The Giants and the Steelers. So that's, tell me about Aaron Rodgers. Does anybody have a clue as to what he's doing? Is he the domino that has to fall first so that everything else can kind of fall into place, kind of?
It kind of, I don't know if it seems that way or if that's just us assuming that's what it is.
Our perception of it.
Yeah. So I think just how it's been pre-Jets, Aaron Rodgers, to obviously now it's kind of him dictating what he wants to do and whenever he wants to do it. And there's teams out there that are biting the bullet, that are hoping that he chooses them, basically. So they're in the Rodgers sweepstakes, if you will, because they have nothing else.
But isn't there a possible flip on that to say that some of the teams are just sitting back and waiting to see what in other words, I'm not going to go after Rodgers. I'm going to see what he wants to do, and then we'll talk, but I'm not going to make the first move on in this situation.
Yeah, I think there's outside of the very, very quarterback needy Giants.
Right.
I mean, the Steelers also, we forgot to write down, they re-signed Mason Rudolph back to Pittsburgh.
Nice.
On a 2-year deal. So someone that's comfortable with Tomlin and that offense.
Right.
Obviously, Arthur Smith's a different coordinator, but
Wilson is still with the Steelers, but he's talking to the Giants, and he's already talked to the Browns, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is he sort of saying, the heck with Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to get out and see what I can get, screw Rodgers?
Yeah, because I mean, if he's the first one to, I mean, I don't think anybody wants to play for the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
But if the Giants are throwing around stupid money, yeah, and you're at the end of your career and you're just trying to basically make a quick buck, which I'm assuming is a lot of this, then yeah, if I'm Russell Wilson, I'm trying to do that now.
But who's
because if say the Giants do take Aaron Rodgers, somehow, some way he gets the first deal and Wilson's out there just kind of, like, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go to Cleveland? Because I sure as hell would not want to go to Cleveland. I also don't want to go to the Giants. But if I had my choice...
Why would you go to the Giants versus Cleveland? I mean, I don't know. That's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't do. It's just... I mean...
It's tough. I mean, those teams suck. They're going to suck for a long time.
But most people would say...
I don't know. I feel like if you go to the Giants, you're better off with... I guess the expectation, this is going to sound stupid, the expectation that you're going to suck and you're just kind of there to get paid. Because they're going to give money. Like they're dumb enough to give you probably the most money.
Right. But
and then you're done.
A lot of people are saying, though, that when you compare the Giants to the Browns are fundamentally a better team with a better coach, even though there's a lot of screw-ups with what we're talking about. But you're basically going to a better team with a better, maybe not great, but a better chance to win some games.
Yep, you got better personnel on both sides of the football. The Giants have Malik Neighbors.
Right.
Like that's basically it.
Yeah. Because, and I think
I don't know.
I think the Browns with the number 2 pick, I think they're not going. If Is it going to be Tennessee that should pick up Ward?
If they don't trade the pick, yeah.
All right. And then the next quarterback is Sanders, right?
Allegedly, yes.
Yeah, but a lot of people are saying he's not a first round type quarterback. And so a team would say, I'm not going to pick him because I'm not going to pay him that kind of money because it's a bad value for the money. So then I think the Browns would pick somebody else. And maybe if they can get him in the second round or whatever, fine. But no one's going to pick him number 2 overall as a quarterback.
Yeah, it sounds like if Cleveland keeps the pick, they're more than likely going to take Travis Hunter, which, in some hindsight, you're going to get more bang for your buck because you can use him in 2 positions. But
what about that guy from
is it worth it?
Guy from Penn State.
Abdul Carter.
No, you don't think so? You don't think?
I mean, it depends on what they're truly needing. So, like, you got Myles Garrett back.
Yeah.
For an insane amount of money.
Yeah. Well.
Are you?
Why not get another one? That's really good.
Are you trying to finish the D line? Because if you are, then perfect. That is absolutely the pick. That is a home run pick.
Yeah.
Because you don't need him right away.
Mm-hmm.
Say if the foot surgery doesn't go well. Okay. You still have Myles Garrett, one of the best pass rushers in NFL history.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. You're fine. And then once Abdul Carter comes back healthy, boom, there's your 1-2 punch. Everything's fine.
That could be insane, right?
Which could be wild. Or are you trying to better the secondary and have Travis Hunter at corner, strictly, and then Denzel Ward. So you have your number 1 in Denzel Ward, your number 2 corner in Travis Hunter. That's also okay, depending if Hunter pans out. That's obviously the biggest question mark. I think the more solidified player is Abdul Carter. I think there's very little argument to that if you're going defense.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're trying to take I wouldn't say a flyer, but kind of a riskier pick, then yeah, it's definitely Travis Hunter. But if he pans out, then you get a Dion-like player, then sweet. Then you're kind of set on that aspect. But yeah, if you're trying to focus on your front 4, then definitely Carter would be my pick.
So Hunter's the guy that plays on either side of the ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a knowledgeable NFL person yesterday I was watching said if he drafted Hunter, he would have let him play both ways.
Of course it would. It's the Browns.
No, anybody. It doesn't. It's not the Browns.
It was the same. It's the Browns. Of course they would.
Yeah, but no, he said I would. He said he's an extraordinary person, an extraordinary athlete, and I would let him play both ways.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, well, I mean, this guy knows something, but he says he's seen him. Now, he says the thing is the competition in that division or in that conference obviously isn't, it's not the NFL. It's not the Big Ten even.
Mm-hmm.
But he's seen him at the end of a game, multiple games, just balling out on people, both sides of the ball. He said he's an extraordinary athlete. I tend to not agree with it. What do you think on that one? I'm just throwing that out for your opinion.
So I'm not sure if we've talked about this specifically, but I feel like not discrediting the fact that Travis Hunter is a pure athlete, because he is. There's no doubt about it. He is a pure athlete.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing is, look at who they're playing.
Right.
Look at the talent that they're playing. You're playing in the Big 12.
Right. That was his comment. It's the Big 12 versus the NFL. It's not even comparable.
Yeah, the comparison's not even close. The Big 12 is barely a skid mark on the NFL underpants, talent-wise.
Okay. Somebody's in a good mood.
I mean, and to be fair, you wouldn't hear that with the Big Ten. You wouldn't hear that with the SEC because those are the dudes that are coming out from college to the draft that are balling out.
Right.
for the most part.
Yeah.
You see NFL receivers was the first one of the first colleges you think of, the Ohio State
Buckeyes.
Yeah, you think of the Buckeyes and look at that talent that has been produced for the last 5 to 10 years plus at minimum. You don't really hear a bunch from the Big 12. You get some, not discrediting the fact that nobody comes out of the Big 12, but it's a lot more slim than the Big 10, SEC, ACC even.
Yeah.
So you could argue Travis Hunter is going up against mediocre talent.
Yeah.
And of course he's going to ball out because he's the premier athlete.
Right.
Say on both sides of football.
Now,
you don't have a ton of first-round talent quarterbacks coming from the Big 12.
People are using that against Genty as well.
Yeah, and that is the biggest question mark for him is because they bring up the Penn State game. He still got 100 yards, but it took him 25-plus attempts to do it, and Boise State just never stopped running the ball because outside of him, they have no offense.
There's no offense.
It's very slim.
Right.
And that is the biggest question mark for him, and it's fair. It's absolutely fair. But it also depends on where he goes in the draft. Does he go to the Raiders? Does he go to Dallas? Does he go?
You still think he's first round?
Oh, absolutely. The talent. I feel like the talent is there.
There's a lot of good running backs. This is a good running back class.
Oh, absolutely.
Really good.
If there's any class that's good right now, it's the receivers and it's the running backs. And if I'm a team, I'm waiting for – the more I look into the draft, I'm probably waiting for a running back. Like second round is probably the earliest.
So you would take Genty over Henderson?
Me personally, I like Henderson more.
Yeah.
But if I'm the Raiders, for example, at 6, what do they really have to lose? I mean, I feel like the risk for them isn't nearly as much as, say, Dallas, probably.
Well, then why not pick Henderson if you're Las Vegas?
I wouldn't hate it if they did, personally. I know because everyone looks at their ESPN rankings and they're always like, this is 100% correct, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Or Amarion Hampton from North Carolina. They'll look at the 1-2 punch and be like, these are the guys. and Genty obviously has the numbers to prove his worthiness of that number 6 pick or of the number 12 pick or whatever he ends up being. Because he's a big body running back, stays low, obviously has the one cut, kind of the power back that you're looking for in the pros. And if he gets behind the offensive line that's not terrible, he's probably going to be okay. But this shelf life, as we all know, is so short for these running backs. And he's not going to be able to be a workhorse back like that for long. Do you see the Todd Gurley's of the world done after their first big contract? Zeke, same thing.
Yeah.
It's tough. Christian McCaffrey is banged up. He's fortunate to get the deal with San Fran and produce that one solid year and then boom, banged up. Saquon Barkley, when he was with New York, had a couple of small injuries here and there. Fortunate enough to get his deal with Philly. We'll see what happens after, this previous year, obviously with a career-setting year.
Yeah.
It's tough to really put, I guess, a ton of risk for him, but it seems like from the Adam Schefters of the world to all of these scout pros, that Genty's the real deal. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Personally, I like Travion a lot more than some of these ESPN rankings because of that dual threat breakaway speed. Like nobody's catching him. If he's in the open field, nobody's catching him.
Right.
But his size is the big question. A little shorter, not as heavy, but he's just fast. So depending on where he goes, like say if he goes to like the 49ers, he's going to be a stud.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be an absolute stud. If he goes to Minnesota, absolute stud with Kevin O'Connell. He'd be insane.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City, if Philadelphia needed him, for example, like those teams with premier talent on the offensive side of the ball, he would shine.
Mm-hmm.
But if he goes to the Giants,
Right.
the Browns, these lower teams that they need a lot more than just running back help, then yeah, he's going to struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like if he lands in a perfect spot, Trayvon's good. Omarion Hampton's good. Gentry, I think, will be good early, but will kind of that tread on the tires is going to wear quickly because they're just going to hammer him. Because that's what he did with Boise State. They just fed him and fed him and fed him.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to last forever.
So let me mention something about him. And I was listening to Urban Meyer about him coming into the draft. And, of course, we know how good Urban was in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, 2 years ago, I wouldn't have given Henderson a chance in the NFL. He was a one hit back. He couldn't break that first tackle. Now he's breaking all kinds of tackles. And whether it's the weight room or whatever, he said he's fast, but he's breaking he's not letting the first hit knock him down, which is in the NFL, that's everything. You're always going to get, someone's going to hit you in the NFL.
Oh, yeah, first cut.
Yeah, someone's going to touch you and touch you hard. And he said he's breaking those, he's going through those now, which he said he was very impressed with that.
Oh, yeah. The last 2 years for him definitely skyrocketed him draft-wise on everyone's draft board, especially last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, last year was definitely a kind of a make or break it because you have Quinshawn and obviously the noise behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this 1-2 punch that's similar in skill. And they both dominated.
Yeah. True. Okay. So where the heck were we? I can't remember where we were. Oh, we were talking, well, okay, so you still, okay, do you think yes or no, is the Rodgers domino falling before anything else happens and then everything goes after that?
I would say no.
Okay.
I think Rodgers is the biggest name.
Okay. And of course.
And I think the curiosity factor is just more with him than it is anybody else.
Right. Now, I was disappointed, but it's good for him that Justin Fields went to the Jets. I thought he was going to be a great Steeler. But, you got to go where the money is, right?
Oh, the Jets just the money was too much for, I think, Justin to ignore.
Right. Well, yeah. So
$30 million guaranteed.
Is he a good fit for the Jets? You're a Jets guy.
I don't know if anybody is a good fit for the Jets right now.
Okay.
And I think that's culture. That's the history of Jets quarterbacks here recently.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just no personnel outside of Garrett Wilson to help anybody.
Right.
That's, I think, the biggest problem is that there's just no talent.
Right.
But
Justin
you got Breece Hall, and Breece Hall's fine.
Okay.
Garrett Wilson, obviously, stud. But who else is there? Like, what is their plan for Justin? Obviously, the dynamic duo that is going to be them, Fields and Wilson, is going to be fine. I think that connection is going to be very important, which I think helped that deal get finished. Mm-hmm. I'm sure Garrett had some say in who he wants to throw the ball. Mm-hmm. But there is obviously a lot more that needs to be done. You need some offensive line. You need another receiver.
Right.
Now, if the Jets were smart and they really want to get this OSU, tandem in full circle, draft Emeka Egbuka. Mm-hmm. Get real OSU heavy. Mm-hmm. I think that could be super interesting to see.
Yeah.
But
so basically, you're saying that Justin's following the money, and that's good for him, right?
yeah, 100%, 100%. I would have done the same thing if the Steelers were giving him 2 for 20, and the Jets go, yeah, we'll go ahead and double that.
Right. Right.
But we'll just give you the $30 million guaranteed, so you're still getting that bare minimum, $10 mil more.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
It's still a prove-it deal.
Yeah.
But that money's loud.
Sure it is.
That's very loud money.
Just ask somebody on the defensive line for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to win a Super Bowl? Yeah. How's $40 million? Oh, this is great. I'll stay.
This is 1A and 1B, right? Okay.
Yeah. God.
So let's go.
Yeah. The money's talking for sure.
And I don't blame him. Okay. So Darnold to Seattle. So Seattle trades Geno to Vegas, right?
The Raiders.
So they pick up Darnold, and then Seattle trades what's his name, Metcalf, to the Steelers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are they just kind of doing a flush and reset, you think?
It kind of seems that way.
Okay.
Now I know Metcalf's getting older in age. They didn't want to resign him to a bigger deal.
Right. It's his third contract.
And that makes sense. I get you're trying to save some money. You're trying to go younger. That's fine. Is it smart? Who knows?
But Donald's a way better pick than Geno, in my mind, don't you think? You like Geno. You like Geno.
It's so tough because you have the 1 year, and the 1 year is great.
Mm-hmm.
Great 1 year, but is it the system or is it the player?
Either way, does it matter?
I find it hard to really agree with the massive contract. I get the quarterback market's just completely broken, and that's just the price you pay for whoever's out there. Now he benefits because everyone in this market outside of Justin Fields is super old.
Right.
So he benefits greatly from that.
So you think that the Vikings did okay in telling Darnold, no, we're not going to make that kind of money with you?
I think so.
Okay.
I think if that's the case, they believe in JJ, which you've invested a first-round top 5 draft pick.
Yeah.
You have to see what you have. And that's I get that reason 100%.
Yeah.
And Darnold's asking for $40 to $50 million a season.
Yeah, not gonna
off one good year. Get bent, dude.
Well,
get bent.
Okay, but he got some good money anyway.
Oh yeah, and for him, business-wise, phenomenal.
Yeah,
phenomenal for him.
Speaking of business-wise, how about Pickett going to the Browns? Is that just we need somebody and we need a body to throw a ball somewhere?
Yeah, you played on a Super Bowl winning franchise. You played one game, won that game, looked like shit.
Mm-hmm.
But you come from a winning culture. That's the only thing I can think of that makes that deal make any sort of sense. Any sense at all.
Well, I mean, they needed somebody to throw the ball. I mean, you know, they needed, even if he's their number 2, they had to have somebody at least who could throw the ball. But okay, so Russell Wilson, is he much better than Kenny Pickett? I don't know. I mean, Wilson has that.
I truly don't know.
I mean, Wilson has that great fade to the left and right, but he doesn't throw the ball down the middle of the field. He won't.
Mm-hmm.
He's slower, and I'm not saying Pickett's great, but is he? You say, well, maybe it should have been Wilson to the Browns. Well, Pickett, is he? You know, if the Browns have got to get an offensive line, you got to protect somebody back there, right?
Mm-hmm. I think that's priority numero uno. You have to have a line.
You can have.
Doesn't matter who's behind there.
Yeah, and if you don't give them over 2 seconds to throw the ball, they're just dead. So anyway, I think he's just a pickup because they knew they needed somebody to be able to throw the ball. So, all right. Daniel Jones to the Colts. What's going on there?
I know this is going to sound crazy. I don't hate it.
I don't either.
And reason being is with Richardson and his struggles,
Right.
I think it's basically the Colts telling him, if you're not better than Daniel Jones, then get the hell out of here.
Right. Now,
And I know that's a very expensive,
well,
1 year.
Yeah.
You need to show us that you're better than what you are.
yeah. He's shown
But
nothing.
I think it's true.
Right.
I honestly think that's what the Colts are telling him. Like, this is what we're doing. Prove to us that you're at least better than this turd.
So
Because it's getting to the point where he's going to ask for more money, and they're sure as hell not giving him that money.
right. So
He hasn't earned it.
is Flacco gone from the Colts? Or is he just sort of hanging out and whatever? Because
I don't know.
I think he had a 1 year, and he's just sort of, if somebody wants to make a bid for him, then they can do it. I think. I don't think he's tied. I don't think he's tied to the Colts this coming season.
No, I don't think so. I think it was a 1 year. But there's talk that maybe the Steelers look at him. Obviously, the rumor mill with him maybe going to the Browns is always going to be there. But damn well there's teams, asking for availability for him.
Yeah.
Or curious to see if he's wanting to go there.
Yeah. I keep him on speed dial for sure.
Oh God, yeah. There'd be no reason to not. I mean, he's going to give you the yardage that you're wanting.
Yeah.
Touchdowns. He just turns the ball over a hell of a lot, and at that rate, if you're going to produce wins, I don't think anybody truly cares about your interception to touchdown ratio if you're providing wins.
Right.
So yeah, I'd be curious to see where he goes. I know that's a name that's obviously looming for everybody outside of the Rodgers Wilson dilemma.
So then, okay. So where is, of course, Stafford's back with the Rams. It's a good deal. So where is what's okay? Give me your take on Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. Where, if they both want to play, where are they going to go? Give me the Beefs prediction.
I think Wilson goes to the Giants.
Okay.
And I think Rodgers goes to Pittsburgh.
Okay. What happens at Minnesota?
I think JJ's healthy enough at this point where if the Vikings, told Sam Darnold, yeah, man, we're not giving you this deal, we're going to go with JJ, then I think that's the reason. They believe JJ's healthy enough to lead the charge for this upcoming season.
People are saying he's lost a massive amount of weight, of muscle mass.
Oh, I'm sure he has. I'm sure. Because he can't move. He can't do anything.
Right.
So they're going to have to give him that Big Mac Taco Bell diet, just put some weight on him.
So, but they still need another backup quarterback, right? You got to get somebody else in there, right?
Yeah, I mean, they still have, was it Matt Rippin, however you pronounce his name, Ripon?
I don't know.
We didn't know was basically nobody.
Right, okay.
And I'm sure they'll find somebody in the draft or get some random veteran.
Right.
Just to have the depth.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it's pretty firmly McCarthy's team until he proves that he's not worth it.
What about Mr. Cousins, Kirk Cousins here? We haven't talked about him, but I think he's willing to play for Atlanta, but he wants to start. He wants to start.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and I don't
think that's going to happen for Atlanta.
Yeah, I think the Falcons look at it as we're not paying this guy $40 million to be a backup.
Right.
So I think.
So where does he go then?
I think all lines are pointing to him reuniting with Stefanski.
At Cleveland?
So I think he knows he can start in Cleveland.
Okay. Yeah.
Because as of right now, you have no starter in Cleveland.
True.
True. And I don't hate the idea of him and Stefanski being back, because look at what they did.
Right.
It was pretty damn successful.
Mm-hmm. And I think another thing I've been hearing is that when Watson came on board, he really didn't like Stefanski's offensive philosophy. Mm-hmm. And so the ownership said, okay, Stefanski, you adapt you to our expensive guy, which of course doesn't really work too well. We can see that. And now with Watson not playing this year, Stefanski is going to go right back to Stefanski ball, which has been proven to be pretty darn good.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So he's not going to be burdened by Deshaun Watson. So.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a ton of pressure with Kirk Cousins if he does end up signing with Cleveland or being traded to Cleveland, however it's going to work.
But
at the end of the day, like, Stefanski doesn't have much to lose because he doesn't have anything right now.
Yeah, but then who does Atlanta get? Because that's going to be a deal. That's going to be one of those. If you listen to some people talking about his contract, Kirk Cousins' contract, it's very complicated as far as bonuses and guarantees and yada yada yada. And so it'd be one of those. Yeah, if Cleveland would say, well, we'll take half of his contract, and then Atlanta says, okay, well, we'll put $15 million up, you take the rest, and then it's just. But Atlanta's going to want some cash. They're going to get, and probably picks too, from the Browns or anybody, because I think Atlanta's looking at it strictly on a business sense and saying we're not going to give away this guy. We're going to get something for him.
Yeah, and I don't know, like what. Are they looking for like a day 2 pick? Are they looking for a day 3 pick? Are they looking for a player? That's the tough part. And then if it is Cleveland, what are you willing to give up?
Yeah.
And that's the scary part because we know Cleveland does some pretty interesting things.
They'll give away the house. Yeah.
Yes, they do some very interesting stuff.
Yeah. So it'll be sort of a count. Albert Breer was talking about this, and it just went on, and I'm like, it just went over my head. But it's like draft picks plus half the guaranteed in 26, and I'm like, oh my god. But anyway, I think it would be good for the Browns, but who knows? That probably means it's never going to happen. So okay, so you have Rodgers to the Steelers, Wilson to the Giants, Gardner Minshew to the Chiefs. What's up with that one? Seems odd.
I think it's one of those where
he's needed somebody.
He's looking for a spot. The Chiefs give it to him for veteran minimum.
Okay.
It's great for the Chiefs because he's cheap.
Yeah,
and for him, he's not expecting to start, but he's proven to be a decent backup.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely don't hate it. I mean, he's not expecting a ton of money.
Right.
And I think he knows that.
Right.
And he gets to go to a winning franchise.
Okay.
So for him, I think that's awesome.
All right. Okay. Now let's look at some non-quarterback transactions that have been going on here. Najee Harris, 1 year, $9 million to the Chargers. I like that. For the Chargers and for Najee.
Oh, it's great. It's great. I think for a 1 year prove it, you get damn near $10 million for this season.
Mm-hmm.
And as of right now, it's just him.
Yeah.
We don't know what's happening with JK, and then everyone else that's currently on that roster isn't going to beat him out for anything.
Mm-hmm.
And the Chargers love to run the football.
Mm-hmm.
So that you're looking at a 15, 20 plus a game 15 to 20 plus touches a game.
Right.
And
yeah,
I mean, who knows? Maybe it's a resurgence for Najee.
And Herbert, I think that'll help Herbert out, don't you think, a lot?
Oh, God, yeah. If the running game's efficient, like it has been, especially with JK was under center, or behind Herbert, I mean, it's solid. I think it's truly solid.
Okay. All right, now I'm going to butcher this name, and you've already laughed your butt off at me. Nick Akine, yeah. Anyway, here's a 2 year, $6.5 million for 2 years to the Dolphins. Everyone seems to think it's a pretty good deal. I don't know who this guy is, but okay, give me your thoughts on that one.
Well, anytime the Dolphins sign a running back, it usually ends up being pretty decent.
Okay.
So I will take it and run with it because they just lost Raheem Mostert to I want to say to Vegas. So
Mhm.
he's there for a 1-year deal. So right now they have Devon Achane and the second-year player right on their roster. So having a third running back for the Dolphins has been kind of their go-to and cycle through those guys.
Yeah, $3 million.
So it's just speed, and more speed.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Greenlaw and Hufanga to the Broncos. Everyone seems to be applauding that deal pretty well.
Yeah, I mean the Broncos are making moves.
Yeah.
They got Evan Ingram for a 2-year deal on top of that, and they are whoever's coming into Denver is obviously buying into what they did last season.
Mm-hmm.
And that has a lot to do with obviously Sean Payton, and that has a lot to do with Bo Nix proving himself.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what they do in the draft, and if they do go running back, or if they stockpile draft picks and just continue to add on to this team on both sides of the football, it could be interesting.
Yeah, it seems like their attitude, the Broncos, is like, yeah, we were 10-7, which is good last year, but we don't want to go to 11-6. We want to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, they're just not effing around.
Yep, which is good.
Yeah.
Very smart, very smart.
Yeah. And then under the radar, Laramie Tunsil to the Commanders. I like that one. Talk to me about that one.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge for Washington, and they somehow stole this guy from Houston.
Yeah.
And now this team is just getting better. You get the Debo addition, you get Laramie Tunsil on your offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big body.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big body. And now your offensive line is even better.
Mm-hmm.
So the Commanders are making a push.
Yeah.
They might challenge Philadelphia next year. Who knows?
Yeah. Jeremy Chin.
That's a huge deal. Very huge deal.
I think it's a defensive back, Jeremy Chin to the Raiders. I like that one.
The Raiders are trying.
Yeah, they're working on it.
They're trying.
And now what has ruined your day, A.J. Dillon has gone to the Eagles.
Yep, and we signed Javonte Williams to a 1-year deal. Cool.
Now when you say we, who's that we?
Yeah, take a wild guess on who we is.
We'll get to we in a minute here. We'll get to we in just a minute.
Gosh, yeah, Philadelphia is just adding depth and just more quad size to their backfield.
Those two running backs. That's got to be maybe the best in the NFL as a duo.
As of right now, it might be. Yeah. It's not great.
Because the NFL doesn't really do duos much. I mean, it's like we got one really stud, and then whatever.
Mm-hmm. We're not sitting good.
Yeah. So again, the we we're talking about. Okay, the Bears. I'm impressed with the Bears. The Bears are like, F you, we're going offensive line, defensive line, and we're going to start knocking some heads together, and we're not going to be at the bottom of the NFC North. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I mean, they knew what they needed.
Yeah.
And they attacked immediately.
No messing around.
Yeah, and it's good because this shows for the Bears faithful, you believe in what you have.
Mm-hmm.
You believe in Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
You understand what your weaknesses are, and you're trying to fix it.
Yeah, you got to protect him.
That if anything should induce some sort of confidence from the fan base and from Caleb Williams. Like, okay, they believe in me. This is what they're doing.
Yeah, and
this is good.
Line. So then, give me your take on that conference. Then, with this, when you can project how they will improve, what's your take on that division? I don't think they're going to be at the bottom next year.
If anyone's going to be at the bottom, I would say it's probably the Packers at this point. Maybe Minnesota, depending.
Will they be in the number 2 slot?
I
think they're going after the Lions, man. I think they're like, F you, we're going after you.
They could. They very well could be. And the Lions are still a question mark for a lot of people, I think, because you don't know how the offense is going to look post Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
But until they prove otherwise, I think by default they stay up there at 1.
Yeah, but could you see them at number 2 in that division then?
I could see a 2-3 kind of like Minnesota.
Real close.
Yeah, Minnesota Bears kind of headache back and forth, and then the Packers are just kind of confusing.
Okay. All right.
Because they don't really have much of anything right now. A.J. Dillon's gone.
Right.
How is that running attack going to look?
Mm-hmm.
Your receivers are still young, which is good for them. But is Jordan Love the dude still? Is he going to be? Mm-hmm. Is he going to produce as well as what the Bears are looking like right now?
Yeah.
With them kind of keying in on everything that they need.
Yeah.
I mean, the draft will tell a lot. To see how aggressive the Bears are going to be with trying to, finalize this roster.
Mm-hmm.
The Vikings, what are they going to do with their later draft pick? Are they going to try to do a 1-2 punch in the backfield to help JJ? There's a lot.
So, in this first week of free agency, it seems like the Bears have been the most focused on what they need in getting it, right? Or is it some other team? And these guys are like focused like a laser beam. This is what we need, and we're going after it now. Anybody else comparable, do you think? Other team?
That's tough. I would say maybe the Commanders. They're really keying in on kind of like the position needs and kind of hitting them on the head.
Would you agree with my assessment, or am I off base here?
I
mean, it's only the first
week. I would say for now I would agree until something else changes from now until later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would agree.
Okay. Speaking of laser focused and what you need, we're going to flip in the page here. The Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? What is going on? Is anything going on? What's the point? Talk to me about this team. They're just silent. They're just the silence is deafening.
We're letting people go, and we're resigning long snappers, and we're giving washed up running backs 1-year deals. We're not doing anything. we let DeMarcus Lawrence go, and he's telling us he left because they're not winning the Super Bowl in the next handful of years, which he's right.
Mm-hmm.
He's right. And until Jerry tries to fix his ways, which we know he won't, this is the position that we're going to be in. It's just going to be struggle bus central, signing washed up veterans, letting guys go that should probably stay, and focus in on basically nothing. There's no focus.
Right. So if I'm Jerry, and I never will be, and I'm looking at that team, I'm saying there's a lot of needs, of course, and you know that. There's a ton of needs. But I want somebody to play ball with CD. I want somebody else on the outside who's not just other than CD, because they're just going to destroy him.
Yeah. We need a number 2 receiver.
Seriously.
We need a young running back. We need
there's a lot.
Defensive line help. We need offensive line help. We need it all.
So what would you we
just need it all.
But if my take was to get a second wide receiver that's a potent one, would I be wrong to say I'm focused on that?
No, because it's definitely a need. It's definitely a need. It just depends on what they're going to do with that pick.
All right.
And I think the answer to that is at that point when it gets to our pick, who's the best available.
So you think it's a draft?
Because at that point it's line, it's receiver, whatever. Who's the best player that is there? And I think if it's one of those players that is a need, then you have to take them.
Okay. Well, yeah. So you wouldn't go in focused. You would say, I have a ton of needs and I'm going to get the best player possible, right?
Yes. I think that's the only way to do it right now. Unless it's a name that is just like, how is this guy still here?
But it seems like Dallas isn't. Does Jerry never do free agency? I don't. This is amazingly silent.
It's unless they're just getting beat to the punch, which I guess is possible. Very slim, but possible.
By the Browns?
Yeah, I don't know. But
come on,
and everyone is saying the same thing. What the hell is going on with Dallas? Why is it so quiet? And I don't have an answer because it doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Nothing makes sense, and I'm just sitting here wondering why I chose this fan base, why I chose this franchise.
You were born into it. It just these things happen. You know, I'm a Browns fan.
It's terrible.
Well, it is what it is. You know, it's.
Yeah, I'll sit here and suffer with you. It's fine.
Okay. Yeah. I have a pity party.
Yes.
So give me the biggest winner, biggest loser. In so far, team-wise.
Well, biggest loser is obviously my boys. That's very easy.
Yeah.
Biggest winner.
Bears.
Bears make a tough argument for sure. I like what the Commanders have done.
Yeah.
The Debo edition and the Laramie Tunsil edition is massive.
Mm-hmm.
The Raiders are doing what they need to do. To do, something within the next couple of years. Mm-hmm. Getting Geno, reuniting him with Pete Carroll, I think that's smart. Who knows with Seattle and the Darnold signing? I mean, it could be a big splash. It could not be.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of these teams that are making these big moves need to obviously do well in the draft to kind of compensate for those big additions.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say, as of right now, I think just because the names are a little bit bigger and the impact that those players have already had in the league, I would say the Commanders right now are kind of leading the front.
Okay.
I think the big addition of Debo and Laramie Tunsil is huge because they also haven't lost anybody.
Mm-hmm.
They're continuing to gain personnel.
Right.
And obviously the Philly wins because they've lost a little bit, but they're also bringing in talent for cheap.
Yeah. Dylan was huge.
Yeah, I think that's a big backup for Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, as of right now, just without looking at every single team, I think the additions for the Commanders are big.
Okay. All right. Does Najee go into the Chargers maturely really affect the Chargers in an upward move, or is it just nice?
I think so. I think so because you get a proven running back with time under his belt. Not a ton of injury history. Comes from a kind of a hard-nosed franchise.
Right. Harbaugh likes that.
Yeah. And I think that 1 year prove-it deal was big. And I think Najee was looking for big money. Didn't get a big contract, but got a decent payday to prove that he still has, gas in the tank.
I think he got a pretty decent deal for a running back. I hate to say
100%
that.
for a 1 year.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else on your side that you've seen that I haven't seen? Generally, that's a lot.
At least for right now, I think we're okay. I mean, I didn't any updates on the good old telephone, but we'll see what the weekend has in store.
Yeah. So give me your prediction as to when the Rodgers saga will be resolved. In a week?
I think it's this weekend.
By the weekend, okay.
I think the weekend.
Yeah,
probably Sunday, I would say.
Isn't there something with a Monday, some sort of a deadline for, I forget.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, there's some sort of a Monday deadline for things. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say this weekend you'll see some of these bigger names find a home somewhere, and then I think the free agency kind of dies down pretty rapidly after that.
Okay. All right. And then we'll do some mock draft stuff coming up later on, right?
Oh, yeah, the good stuff, the good stuff.
All right. Well, that's it for us right now. Check us out on X, Twitter, Beef in the Deuce Podcast, and, of course, we're on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Talk to you later. Bye.